We now experience a second revolution, a second digital revolution. The fact that the digital image has not a body, but it has no material, it's just visual information, it can be transmitted through the internet. This even changed the whole panorama more dramatically. The emergence of internet, social networks, cell phones, recent resources as Google, Wikipedia, and so on, provide a completely new context in which the visual culture should adapt. This exhibition, from here on, is an attempt to advance which will be the forthcoming trends, how artists react to this new technocracy. And somehow I would like to state that the idea is to provide some ways in which digital humanism could be proved. A lot of people get scared about technology. Technological progress implies risk, and we must accept it because we cannot do anything else. I mean, we cannot stop it. Instead, we should impose an ethical dimension to those risks. And in this exhibition, we deal, for instance, with massification, with common trends, with more or less imposed patterns. The artists being presented here try to fight back against those rules and try to have a personal voice, try to be critical. It's in that sense that I feel they are showing this attempt to build a new digital humanism. Humanism means to give back values to the subjectivity, to the individual, to the possibility of using technology for the common good, for the common wills. This is a magnificent piece by Penelope Umbrico. When we see images in the internet, we realize that we find very specific topics like sunsets. Sunsets probably are the most conventional and kitschy situations in which people would like to appear photographed. In that case, Penelope Umbrico is collecting thousands of those pictures. They are probably technically a disaster because amateurs doesn't has the right skills to do proper images in such situations. But Penelope is collecting those mistakes, and she proves that thousands of anything becomes interesting. So I think that behind that strategy, there's the idea that today recycling sometimes is more important than making. There are too many pictures, so maybe we should adopt a sort of image environmentalist attitude. That's Penelope Umbrico's position. Maybe it's more interesting to compose works, compose meaning, using images which already exist. That's somehow the idea, the leitmotif in this exhibition, artwork as collection. In the very first beginning of photography, photographers were interested in take shots which were having some significance by themselves. Today, in a world with image massification, we realize that meaning should be woven with an articulation, with a sort of structure of many different images. An image is just a word, and in order to talk, we must sequence words, we must sequence pictures. Cartier-Bresson published a book in the early 50s titled The Decisive Moment. In the introductory text, he explained that any action has a climax and that the photographer should capture that climax because it was the way to summarize all the tension of a situation and explain it better. Today, since there are thousands, millions of photographers taking pictures of any event, there's no one single decisive moment, because probably all the clicks, all the shots might have a similar value. So the idea of that decisive moment is gone, or at least is vanishing. But instead, now we notice the emergence of another concept which could be called the undecisive moment. Photographs are recording of whatever. They become conventional, banal, and that banality brings to that concept of undecisive moment.
Camera now, get the target on the road. Target on the road.
This invites us to reflect if this kind of voyeurism is the result of the camera massification or just the opposite. If camera massification is how the industry responds to this voyeuristic instinct. We live in a panoptic society. Cameras are all over. So everything is recorded. The whole world has been mapped and we can get images of whatever you want. Every time, 24 hours per day. And in that situation of massive recording, these outputs could be considered as raw material which could be useful for new ideas. This is a funny piece by a British music group. They were not having funds to produce their own video clip, so they were performing on public areas and surveillance cameras. And later they requested the municipality the tapes of those recordings, because in Britain you have the right to check how you have been recorded by public cameras. And they edit the material to compose the final video clip. And this is a wonderful piece by Penelope Umbrico from pictures in eBay to sell TV sets. So usually you take a photograph of the product you want to sell, but you are not an expert and you just flash, and what you get is the reflection of yourself in front of the TV screen. The huge image massification will lead two different ways to the artist. One, the recycling attitude. This is, okay, I notice, I'm aware of this incredible amount of available pictures, so I stop taking pictures by myself and I just work with those pictures already existing. So I'm using this method of the found image. Or just the opposite. If we feel that everything has been photographed and that we are confronted to that archive, that image bank, which is absolutely exhaustive and universal, maybe the right question is, which are the missing images? Which are the images which haven't been taken yet? Eric Kessel is one of the masters in found photography. He enjoys going to flea markets, just browsing, just looking for strange material, and he's able to get treasures from the garbage. I mean, what for someone is a leftover, he's able to recognize some qualities. He's interested mainly in accidents and mistakes, pictures that have been discarded because of the poor quality. And he's able to see that this poor quality or these mistakes repeated, accumulated, they will be able to generate quite an impressive effect on the viewer. Eric Kessel is able to unveil these values. Other people just don't see it. And most of his projects deal with vernacular images, vernacular photography. Photographs taken by amateurs, family albums, photographs for brochures, for touristical reasons, for postcards. I mean, all these kind of situations which usually are not present in the high history of photography. These are low cult. These are interesting because of their sociological function, but not for the interest in the aesthetic elements that can be there. Very clear example of how the art activity consists on adopting images. This is selecting. This is, if you wish, curating, because curating means selecting, organizing, articulating, and providing a message with that. Another idea could be what Joachim Schmidt is doing. He's presenting 100 books. Each book is dealing with a different encyclopedic category. But this criteria to organize knowledge, to organize images, is very idiot, is stupid, is not rational. And that's the funny thing. Joachim is collecting pictures from the internet. Internet is the universal archive today. And he's displaying these books under different categories. But the funny thing is that the criteria are quite crazy. For instance, this is faces in holes, or currywurst, or pizzas, or airlines menus, or kisses, or Mona Lisa in the Louvre Museum, things like that. So it's a sort of inventory, of anthology, of what people are interested in photographing. In our age, in the digital times, I feel that this is showing how absurd and fantastic this kind of classification criteria can become. It reminds of Argentinian writer Jorge Luis Borges, when in one of his famous tales was dealing about animal classification. And he was saying, well, animals could be classified in mermaids, or animals belonging to the emperor, or animals which are very thin, or animals which are with 3 legs, or animals which are not included in the classification, and so on. Not included in the classification, and so on. It was so hilarious, it was so crazy, that finally you realize the absurdity of this kind of knowledge structures. I think it's an aesthetic statement, but also a very compelling sociological and anthropological statement regarding what photography is today. And maybe what Joachim Schmidt is telling is that now images don't represent the world any longer. Images compose the world. I feel we live within the image, and maybe the problem is how to survive the image. Image is not only a screen between reality and us. Image is composing our landscape, is composing the place in which we should move, in which we should establish our experience. And because of that, images are so fundamental in our lives. One of the crucial aspects in photography today is the persistence of authorship. What an author is today, or an artist, or a creator. There was the French filmmaker Jean-Luc Godard, who once said, "Images don't belong to those who make them. They belong to those who use them." So contemporary artists are more interested in using those pictures than in making them. Appropriation has been in art history a key word, but now in the post-photographic era, or in the digital culture era, we should go beyond, and I propose the idea of image adoption, not image appropriation, which means stealing, but image adoption, because in former Roman, ad optare meant to choose, meant to select. And what artists do today is not just stealing images, is selecting. The artist is not someone making, but prescribing. And in that sense, of course, it's more democratic, because everybody can actually be an artist. It's a question not of skills, not of technical ability, but the faculty to think and to project meaning.
From New York, Julia Meade is going to tell us about the wonderful world of Cameraland.
Well, Ed, all America is Cameraland, and it's yours just for the picture taking. Now let me show you.
In a world of massive production of images, we all used to do the same, or almost the same. An artist such as Corinne Vionnet tries to point how we all photograph landmarks in the same way. So there are some conventions which administrate our visions. We believe that we are subjective, that we are unique, but we are just following some rules imposed by the media, by mass culture, by the patterns circulating in the internet, and so on. So Vionnet is focusing on this kind of problems and providing a sort of ironical statement. Finally, you all do the same. So I think this is a very intelligent project about stereotypes, about conventions, about tourism. I mean, we travel around the world, but finally we just get the same postcard. The public is completing the artwork. We need someone looking at the image in order to complete the communication, the aesthetic process. So that's the reason we could talk about theatrical, where the public is important, theatrical artworks, and untheatrical artworks. This piece, Chicken Museum, created by Thomas Mailander, is a funny criticism of the role of the public, of the museum, of the exhibition, and of the artwork. Is the public still the recipient of the artwork? Is the museum still the authoritarian context which will institutionalize the artwork as such? Is the author still a genius in the romantic sense? Or we should change everything and we should start from the scratch? I think that this piece, Chicken Museum, is dealing about that, and doing that in a very efficient way, because visitors in the exhibition are just excited and moved by those chicken looking at the internet photographs. Abizil is a Swiss artist with an impressive project with surveillance cameras recording traffic or a meteorological situation, and he's looking for those casual moments in which an insect or a spider or a bird is there as a perturbation, as an accident. So it's a collection of found accidents.
What if you had a camera? A camera you could take into any private space. What if this camera could record? What would you make? What would you create?
This is the work by Roc Herms, a Barcelona photographer who has been dealing with virtual reality platforms such as Second Life or PlayStation. And his statement is, okay, now we can take photographs in real life, but also we can take photographs within those platforms. And this is a composite of some fashion photography sessions. So photographs or shots, screenshots taken from those platforms with a community of girls who like to dress up and change. This kind of iconographic survey pays a lot of attention to identity, to the way we want to present our appearance to the others, or how we can perform different roles. The computer is allowing us to live different personalities. I mean, we open a window and we have a specific identity, but then we open another window and we have a different, and we can choose. There's a menu that we can figure out as we wish. Somehow it's the new Dorian Gray portrait. You can change your appearance according to your convenience, and you can be handsome and young and whatever. Maybe now we are changing the plastic surgery by digital surgery. I think that aesthetic values were concerns for other kinds of art. In contemporary art, the concept and the sense of a project is taking over. When Picasso stated that beautiful artworks could not be good, he meant that if they were considered beautiful, this was meaning that they were fitting the current standards. So they were not advancing the taste concept. So only ugliness, something which is refused, could make the aesthetic values progress. Of course, aesthetics is always there, but now we focus on ideas, we focus on concepts, we focus on the discourse. I would say that a discourse is not beautiful or ugly. A discourse is efficient or inefficient, is intelligent or silly. Photography was born in the 19th century, and probably because of that, we must consider it as a heir of the techno-scientific culture. Because of that, it conveys ideas of truth and memory. And photography was born to embody a solemn message. It was to provide accurate description of the visual world. In early times, analog photography was a text. In digital times, photographs are words. I think that the difference now is that photography has been fragmented into pieces. And now the image is not considered as a full text, but as words. Words which should get together with other works, that should gather a syntax and then achieve meaning. So the relationship of photography with memory is changing, is establishing a different dialogue. Today, because probably of the digital technology and the digital resources we have, we are all artists and critics and curators and collectors and so on. The frontiers are vanishing. We use the computer and we all mix, we all edit, we all write, we all publish. So what are we? The roles are not so precise. And maybe because of that, today there are not only artists. Artists are also collectors, are also curators, are also critics, are also theoricians, and so on. This is richer because this provides a more transversal scope of what the art project should be.